We have a special treat. We have Shōsan Victoria Austin. Will be giving the talk today. Thank you for making time for us, Vic.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I feel honored. And I noticed that Jane, you're here online. And
Am
hi.
I
Jane, I wanted to talk about what it is to be a practitioner today, a practitioner in the sangha. Just wondering whether you have a word of wisdom for us as we begin to study this topic.
just pulling your real experience as far down as you can do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me here.
It's great to hear you. Great to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Makes me smile. And
Me
it
too.
also makes me remember, just looking at the Zendo, it also makes me remember Peter
Yeah.
and the years and the different types of practices that you've been doing through thick and thin.
hmm
Yeah, with Suzuki Roshi in person, and then trying to embody Suzuki Roshi's teaching, both in your own body and in the body of the Sangha. So thanks everybody, and thanks Jane, thanks Spencer, and thank you everybody. So today I do want to talk about Sangha from the point of view of what is a practitioner, what is a Sangha practitioner, because I think it's important to understand what the tradition says and then to talk about it. Is that okay with you as a conversational topic? What is it, everybody? Thumbs up if yes, and if you have something to add, please come to the camera and say more, okay? And I'll give you like 10 seconds to get up if you want to do that. Okay, so if that's okay, I'll start. And I'll try to stop in about 20 minutes so that we can have a good conversation about this. So, first thing I want to say is that Sangha, taking refuge in Sangha, is a very special kind of commitment that we don't have much of in, we don't have much precedent for. It's not exactly like marriage because you're not vowing to one person. It certainly isn't like, joining a club or joining a gym, although the level of commitment has to be at least as committed as it would when you join a gym. What makes being in Sangha different and committing to Sangha different is that it's an act of refuge. It's an act of vow, so it both has a motivation and it has a statement that comes from our deepest intention. And it's not just for ourselves or by ourselves. Taking refuge in Sangha happens with other people and other beings, and as far ranging as the entire universe. So, what does refuge mean? So, in Sanskrit, this gachami means to seek shelter, safety, or support. And in Chinese and Japanese, the kie, you say namu kie butsu, namu kie ho, namu kie so, taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Ki is a homecoming or returning to our true self. And A means that we rely on or depend on Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and in this case, Sangha, the community. And so, Buddha had a moment of awakening in which he said, how incredible, how wonderful. I now see that all beings from the beginning are fully endowed with the virtuous characteristics of the fully awakened ones. But because of habits and preconceptions, we don't realize it. And so when we create a Sangha, we are creating a group of people in which we can recognize and see that from the very beginning, we're fully endowed with the virtuous characteristics of awakening. And how do we do that? Well, it's hard to do just by ourselves, because if we think, oh, I'm awakened, we're certainly deluded. Let's say that again. If we think we're awakened, there's a problem. We're most certainly deluded. But with other people, we can create an environment in which it is conducive. Environment is conducive to seek shelter, safety, and support, and to give shelter, safety, and support with our presence and with our work and with our practice. So our presence means that we don't have to do more than just be present. Our presence is a message in and of itself, that it is an act of faith in our own awakened nature. Our Zendo practice, we sit upright. We create a posture of uprightness, a posture in which we can contain skillfully anything that happens in our lives. And in our work practice, like even if it's sweeping the Zendo or washing the dishes or sifting the ashes or whatever it is, cleaning the toilet, whatever it is, all of those little acts together form an environment that is rich in the resources for practice. So rich in the resources to stop thinking we're alone, and stop thinking we're separate, and stop thinking that we're, irredeemably deluded. But it's in the space between, it's in the interactions among. So we say, in faith that we are Buddha, we enter Buddha's way. Faith is the source of the way, the mother of merit and virtue that nourishes all our good capacities. It breaks up the web of doubts. It transcends the floods of emotional love, hate, or confusion. The basis of faith is reverence and honoring. So when we take refuge in sangha, we mean that we're honoring the sangha resource that is this beautiful practice place, and the sangha resources that is everybody's awakened nature. I hope you can hear me, and is it okay? Mia's okay and back?
You're fine.
Okay. So what is it? What are some of the issues that might come up when we try to do this? Like it will come for zazen or service or something like that. The first thing is that in our culture, we tend to take our environments for granted. It's a kind of a set point that we have. We think that somebody else is going to do it for us. But Sangha, this Sangha resource, this Zendo, is a participatory event. It increases in its power the more we're actually, if possible, physically present to interact with each other, to take care of it, and to bow to the Buddha. Somebody at San Francisco Zen Center walked into the Zendo for the first time and said, wow, I feel really different entering this room. And it's because it's an environment that's been designed for thousands of years to support practice. But most of the design is invisible. Most of the design has to do with people actually bowing to that Buddha, sitting on those seats, cleaning those tans, fluffing those zafus, and so on. And if you're doing it online, you are doing it, it's true. And it also depends on this root of interconnection with living human beings. We can see, we can speak, we can touch, we can do things together, walk side by side. So so how do Zen practitioners relate to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? You know, we relate to Buddha through the Buddha nature, but particularly of a teacher, and also side by side with everyone. We relate to Dharma through the teaching, and we relate to Sangha through the community. So when we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we're creating sacred relationships between ourself and a teacher to see Buddha. between ourself and the teaching to learn and understand Dharma, and between ourself and everyone in the sangha to understand intimacy. And these issues are not separate for householders and priests. So householders focus on horizontal transmission for and with all beings, and priests tend to focus on vertical transmission through the generations. Well, everybody needs both, but different kinds of transmission are central in those practices. So between us and a teacher, there's a vertical relationship. It's an intergeneral relationship. That's one of its main mechanisms is mirroring or verification, where we're face to face and mind to mind with that person. Dokusan, the meeting between teacher and student, means one meeting or single meeting. It means that two are one and neither one nor two. And so, you know how we say in when we recite one of the great poems of Zen literature, we say the meaning is not in the words, yet it responds to the inquiring impulse. And the name of that chant has to do with mirroring, you know. So it's a mirror, and that is the relationship down through the ages that we're studying. The teacher is simply present and provides an embodied occasion for all of our inquiring impulse to arise and be met. And a teacher also is trained. So before I was named as a teacher, I've been practicing for more than 30 years. And, under the supervision of my teacher. And so that kind of entrustment is given. There are different levels of entrustment. When you walk in, you're entrusted to do one thing. And then when you receive the precepts, you're entrusted in a different way. You're entrusted to be visible. And so there's different levels of entrustment. And along with the entrustment comes accountability and supervision. So the teacher also talks about the precepts and says what they are and gives feedback. A good teacher gives feedback to practitioners, but without being judgy or rude. So the teacher kind of has to witness and observe and give feedback on what's the person's view, what's their intention, how do they make their livelihood, how do they act in the world, what's their meditation effort, and so on. So a teacher has to be trained in and be able to, willing to help everybody with this. When you're a practitioner, you also have a personal relationship with Dharma, or teaching, or truth. And Dharma is sutras. Sutras and teachings are people, real human beings, actual experiences laid out in words for us to try to understand. And also, conversely, our own mistakes and our own experience-based insight into our practice questions is Dharma. That's part of the Dharma that we're building moment after moment. So we check the truth of the teachings in our own body and mind, moment after moment in our own life. And our own problems are a kind of developmental challenge for us. They don't start out being helpful, okay? They start out being problems. But then we rise to the occasion. We get the help we need to do that. So that's Buddha and Dharma. And then a practitioner is also sangha. Like if I look at you, I'm looking at you, and who I'm seeing is sangha, sangha treasure. If you look at each person as sangha treasure, you can appreciate them and their life and what they're doing in a whole different way. So the nature of sangha practice for practitioners, how we make it our own, is by giving, by speaking kindly, by acting in ways that help, not harm, and by acting along with other people so that the challenges and issues become shared. So that inquiring impulse, that question and the truth of the teachings that we've checked out, each Sangha member is developing on their own path. And each Sangha member becomes an example of the teaching for others. So like when we walk in Kinhin, we notice how far away the other person is and we adjust. And that's creating a feeling of Sangha as a circle. So the shared experience, the refuge there is horizontal transmission. Of course, priest practice and lay practice are not the same. There are some different issues too for priest practitioners and householder practitioners. So one of the main things is to what degree should or can a teacher kind of supervise personal issues for students. So lay people have more independence. And for lay people, the nature of the relationship can vary. So teacher, they can ask a teacher to be their educator, their mentor, their resource, their good spiritual friend, any of those. But for a priest, it's kind of an apprenticeship. It's an intergenerational relationship. As an elder, it's sometimes a parenting relationship, and it's also a professional relationship with standards and verification processes that were set by the Buddha and continue to this day. So I also want to say that anytime we have an aspiration to do something like taking refuge in Sangha or practicing, there's also an enormous shadow. So like the Sangha isn't just all sweetness and light. There's also shadow to it. There's also problems and issues. So for instance, when we confer spiritual authority on the person who's sitting next to us, we're allowing them to kind of pick our pocket and sell us our own watch, as Alan Watts said. So teacher-student relationships have a power differential. They occur behind closed doors in many cases, and we have to stay ourselves as human beings with our own authority and our own experience in these relationships. And we have to understand how to work with our own power, both when we're a student, both when we think we're in a down power position and when we think that we're equal. So all teacher-student relationships, when we're practicing, begin with being human. And if, as a practitioner, you feel like a teacher is putting down your humanity or not seeing you in that way, they're not doing their job. Call them on it. That's one of your powers as a practitioner, is to have your own life and be your own self. Now in Japan, it's different from the United States, right? So it's formal in Japan. You have a root teacher, you have a practice teacher. Ceremonially, the teacher's taking the place of Buddha, and a lot of the teaching is without words. It's oral, it's body to body. It happens through kirigami, little scraps of teaching, and just in general as apprenticeship. And that system is not as fully developed in the United States. That's one of my jobs. That's why I'm training I'm training some of the people who have been practitioners for a long time to be shusos or head monks and learn how head students and learn how to take teaching responsibility in this sangha. So I want to say that when I arrived in Zen practice, it was the 70s and we were in the midst of the women's revolution and kind of letting go of restrictive garments and so on. And many of the sexist and isms had not yet been penetrated in any way. Things have changed over time. And we really are starting to develop an American Buddhism that acknowledges and respects the identity of our many practitioners. Now, there's many transmitted teachers in the West, unlike what it was like then. There are many sanghas, there are many options to continue your practice. Even practices from many different countries can inform your practice. It's okay to see more than one teacher. It's okay to consult peers of your teacher as well as your teacher. It's okay to get education in Western terms about things like first aid or the shadow of power or yoga, Tai Chi, or whatever to inform your Zen practice. It's okay to demand a level of professionalization of teaching that goes with our lives in the 21st century. It's okay to be collaborative as a practitioner and not just hierarchical. So I think I'll stop now. That's 20 minutes of conversation about, in general, about being a practitioner, the responsibilities of practitioners, types of practitioners, broad strokes of what kinds of issues might be the same or different for householder or residential practitioners and so on. And I'm really interested in your thoughts and questions, your comments, your experience of being a practitioner, both for the ancestors throughout the ages and also in the world of today. So is there somebody who's kind of moderating the conversation? Jane, you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, considering what you were just talking about, that when Peter and I were in Japan, we studied with Mrs. Chiba for 22 years, who's Shingon at the time, but she sent us all the time to other priests to work with. And we ended up seeing about 10 or 15 different priests and teachers. Not all of them priests, but all of them very good teachers. And I feel like that was a really good thing to do.
Yeah, thank you. And I did the same thing, you know, when I received Dharma transmission. The people on my altar were not just Zen teachers. I didn't just have Mel. You know, I had my ordination teacher, Richard Baker, who I learned from both positively and negatively. I had one of my practice teachers, Reb, Tenshin Reb Anderson. And I had a big picture of Mrs. Mitsu Suzuki, who spent her whole practice life supporting Suzuki Roshi's teaching. She was a Christian kindergarten teacher, and she taught me tea and she taught me life many different ways. I had BKS Iyengar and his daughter Gita, and I had Katagiri Roshi and Koben Chino. Koben helped name me. Anyway, so a lot of different teachers. So thank you, Jane. I think that's for the 21st century as well as for,
Yeah.
50 years ago in Japan. Yeah,
It's flowing now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
Move up to the camera so you can see me, hopefully.
Okay. But make sure the people behind you can see you too, hear you.
When you talk about practice, does it include the entire world, our day-to-day encounters with people and everything, and you find you have teachers that just somebody does something or says something to you, and we have to be aware of that as our part of our practice.
Yeah. Thank you. Did everybody hear that in the Zendo too? Okay. So I want to say that in our practice, more and more, as time goes on, we can admit more and more of the world as our teacher. And that's horizontal Sangha practice. You know, there may be a time when you need to do residential practice or practice in a smaller environment because it helps you understand what practice life is when there's kind of a controlled environment. And that's one reason why we do residential practice in monasteries. And it's because the same 20 people or 50 people or whatever are with you all the time in different interactive roles, and each role is the center of the practice. So it becomes very clear that the relations are the way that the training occurs. And it's like a simple test case, like an experimental test case for practicing with the entire world. I hope that makes sense. But you're absolutely right. That's where our practice is leading, to appreciate everyone and everything. And if you look at Thich Nhat Hanh's 14 mindfulness trainings, in his statement of the precepts that Sangha takes, that Sangha receives, you'll see many different types of choices, from sexual choices to consumer choices to conversational choices and personal choices and so on. The field of practice widens as we continue to practice. And it stays true, Mia, as long as we can keep in touch with our deepest intention. Mia, you wanted to say something.
Oh, yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Also, I wanted to make another point. You talked about when you say Namuki Butsu, Namuki Ho, and so on. The Kie, I said that in Japanese for the first 5 years of practice. And it never occurred to me to think about what the words actually meant because we were all busy with the Heart Sutra and
Yeah.
other things. But
Yeah.
but still, just hearing you describe, it's like remembering to take refuge, remembering to be supported by Buddha, remembering to be supported by Dharma and the Sangha.
Thank
And
you.
that's the first time I actually thought about the words, and I thank you for that. It's
Sure.
a
Yeah.
really good meaning of it.
It's beautiful, right? And I love how
Yes.
kanji, you can look deeper and deeper into the kanji, and they become visual teachings
Yeah.
as well as word teachings. But
Yes.
Mia's waiting, so I want to acknowledge her.
But thank you for that. So it
Thanks.
really is a kind of remembering, not just I'm going to go do this and get that, but it's more like I'm getting back to the beginning.
Yeah. What does it
It's
mean?
very nice. But thank you for that. All those
F-
years of saying it.
FYI, it's pronounced Maya.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Maya. I'm sorry.
no
Yeah.
hard feeling. Happens a
Uh,
lot.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I feel like this Dharma talk comes at a very tender moment in my practice. I have been I've been reiterating it and saying it to a few different people, so it might sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's been about a year since I've started coming to Beginner's Mind Zen Center. And in that entire year, really only the last 2 months have I feel like I understood what it was to practice. And especially pertaining to I guess it was all practice, right? Because I needed to be in the position that I was in at the time to get myself where I am now. However, when I began coming here, it was very much, what can I get out of meditating? What can I achieve for myself? Be it a better, more stable, all of the benefits that come with meditation. That was what I wanted. And I wanted to understand Buddhism, but I didn't want to let any part of myself go to really submerge myself in practice. I wanted to get what I could get and then leave. And your last comment, Shōsan, about how residential practice is sometimes necessary to understand Dharma and Sangha a little bit better, maybe not even understand it, but just grasp what it is that you are participating in. That was the difference that Tassajara had made for me, was seeing that, oh, I, you know, this is what it is when everyone is showing up, and I need to be there. I can't hold on to myself. That was something I was thinking about dropping out of Jukai, and something I had told people when they asked me was that I'm not ready to let go of my ego, you know. I'm still young. I'm a Leo. I have a fun ego. I don't want to let it go. You know, why would I do that? I'm fun. But the you know, to close that little chapter, which is that I am innately those things. I don't need to project them through any kind of personality, ego, But anyways, going to Tassajara and being submerged in practice for the month that I was there, made me realize, like, one, I asked a lot of people, well, who do you practice with when you're not at Tassajara? What's your home sangha? And I was like unmoored by the number of people who said, this is my only sangha. I don't have somewhere else. And they're only able to go there once a year, however long. And I suddenly felt deep appreciation that I have Beginner's Mind Zen Center here. That's only 15 minutes away from, well, right now I'm staying here, but that's only 15 minutes away from where I was staying at, and some practitioners have to do it alone. And that's, that realization made me feel that much more committed. And going to your analogy about the gym, it was kind of like I just wanted to go when it worked. I didn't make this a priority. I went to the gym. I came to dharma, to sitting a lot because I was going through a breakup and something was happening and I needed but outside of that, there wasn't a deeper commitment. And after realizing the necessity of that commitment to the people, to my sangha, to myself, and to the dharma, is what has generated the kind of like energy I have in this sendo.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Maya. And I'm sorry again for misnaming you. It's like, oh.
Okay.
But I've been watching videos of my my niece's daughter, whose name ends with an iya, and I just did it. I'm sorry, but this whole thing, and then to Mark's point, this kind of do you know that book, the book where they have human scale and then they go up times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 and then down times 10 times 10 times 10? That book, it's a photo book. So you have human scale, and then times 10 is like a 10, from seeing the world from a 10-story building, and then seeing the world from 1,000 feet up, and so on. And it goes all the way up to the stars, and it goes all the way down to the not even atoms, but subatomic particles, whatever we have photos of. So being a practitioner is kind of like that. And, you pick the scale of practice that actually is your practice for right then. So you had a human scale practice, and now you're going down, to a tenth of that size to be in your causes and conditions, and up times 10 of that size to see the whole Sangha at once, right? And the point of view is really different. It's really different. And when we're like times 10, we can see all over the world there's these, thousands of lights, which are Sanghas, and each one of them is absolutely precious, and it's like an eternal flame that needs to be tended by people. And it only happens through human contact. And then if you go down deep, divided by 10, you could see the causes and conditions that led to the breakup and everything about yourself and how you respond and relate and how your vow is even deeper than that. If you go down to time divided by 100, you won't reach your vow. If you go down to 1,000, you won't reach your vow because it's deeper. It's the deepest of all and it's the widest of all. But we don't get to see it that way unless and until we interact with it that way. So it's really, you know, I don't want to be too woo-woo about it, but it's really an amazing thing. So thank you for your question. It's really important. And then, I do want to tell you about the kitchen practice in particular. So when I first was at Tassajara as a Tangario student, so a new residential student, I'd been there as a guest student before, but now I was going to stay. And they put me in the kitchen, and I went, oh no, I want to practice. I don't want to work all the time. I want to practice. And then it was amazing, because you get to see all these vegetables and where they come from and make food, pure food as an offering for the sangha. And then when I moved back to the city, and a few years later, I was the tenzo, the head cook. And it's the job that Dogen, our ancestor, describes the most detailed way of any position. And the very first moment I got there, everybody was fighting in the kitchen. And I thought, oh no, I can't do this. And then I locked my entire crew into a room with me and said, no one leaves until we agree on an intention that we all share together and that we're all going to work on together. So I'm telling you this story because intention and how we work with each other is really demonstrated well in the Sangha, and Tassajara embodies it so beautifully. So we decided on a 25-word intention, and I also set the stage where if someone criticized someone, and it was the intention that the person who was criticized would have to say thank you and repeat back the criticism or the important part of the criticism that really affected them. But if somebody criticized somebody and it wasn't part of the intention, the person being criticized could jump up and point to that person and say, disqualified! And it wasn't very long before everybody in the kitchen was laughing, right? And we were doing a class called The Heart of the Zen Kitchen, where 4 volunteers would come in to work with the crew members, and the crew members would be examples for those people. And we realized that the kitchen was more than preparing food. For instance, you make an offering at 12:15 so that you could serve lunch at 12:30. But to do that, at 11 o'clock, the music of the pots has to get louder and faster so that the pace changes. So you use the sounds of the kitchen. At the beginning, it's cleaning sounds like swish, 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 swish. And then eventually it's trundle, 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 chop, 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 like that. And then suddenly it's pots and pans. And then finally it's the vow and the ding, 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 3. The offering goes and ding, 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 ding. Everybody comes in and eats. It's so, I hope everybody has something like that. So thanks for that question. It's an important question. Maya's question is important, and it goes with Mark's question. Oh, it's 11:50. What time is service?
Like noon?
Oh, so we have another 10 minutes if we want? Okay. So anything else that needs to be said or asked or expounded on? Joel?
Yeah, it's not exactly a question, but that you described a book, but I saw a video of going in someone's body all the way down to the little atomic particles and then out to the whole universe. And it's just struck me as it was so wonderful, and it strikes me as so relevant, and so sort of the essence of practice of anything. So just, and whatever comes up, like you have form and emptiness and all that stuff, what is the stuff of going in all the way and what is the stuff of going out all the way?
Okay, I just had this boomer vision of the movie Fantastic Voyage. Do you remember? It's like from 1978, in which Raquel Welch, among other people, gets in a submarine that shrinks so that they can address a blood clot in the brain of some very important general. Do you remember that? And they do it. They go all through the body and they take care of it and stuff. Sorry, digression. But yeah, that microscopic view
Yeah.
and the macroscopic view,
Right.
macroscopic, come
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. And how do they come
How do
together?
they come together? They come together because it's their nature to be together, right?
Okay.
We think
Yes.
nature is separate from us, but every time we sit, we're sitting with nature. So Matt can comment on that because Matt's hand is up and maybe
Yes.
Matt can give a
Thank you
better
so much.
answer than I can, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I can't hear you, Matt. No, now it's off.
You're muted.
Ah,
I
Still can't.
Wait, do you have earplugs in or something? I can't hear you at all. Do you want to put your comment or question in the chat so I can read it? Can't hear you. And can anyone hear what Matt is saying? Because it's probably important.
No,
No, he seemed very sincere though.
I
yeah.
I think it was the answer to everything, and we missed it.
You're right. You can put it in the chat.
I think he's making his noise now.
Give it, Matt, no?
No,
You can.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, we just missed the answer.
Did you get the audio?
Danny has a question.
Yeah, Danny, yeah.
Well, before I ask my question, I think you said Mark, but it was Mike that asked the
Oh,
question
Mike
earlier.
asked the question. I'm sorry.
My question
More,
is,
more naming stuff.
does the taking refuge in the sangha imply a duality? What are we taking refuge from?
Huh. Okay, so the thing that's interesting is that, yes, of course it implies a duality because we're people and people have histories and lives. But it also implies a non-duality because Buddha and Buddha get together. And it also implies we don't know whether it's dual or whether it's not dual because it's all in the interrelationship between individuals and each other. So that's skill. So yes, of course it implies duality, but that's not the only story. And we can do refuge. Like I came to the Dharma in part to seek refuge from my parents' Holocaust survival karma, which was really horrible. It was hard. And what could I do to relieve that suffering? of course, my father was gone by the time I did that. So otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to study Buddhism. And I got in super bad trouble with my family because they thought I was in a cult and had me deprogrammed. But that's another story. Eventually, practice did teach me how to be with life in a way that I think I can trust, even if I'm really in horrible conditions of suffering again. And if you read like Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, there's more about that. So yeah, refuge from, I would say refuge with. So we think we take refuge from fear and pain, but eventually it turns into refuge with fear and pain. Because we're all going to get sick, we're all going to get old, and we're all going to die. And we're all going to be scared about it and not want it to happen. And yet there's something about our life which is bigger even than that. So so Chris, am I mangling your name if I call you Chris? Sorry, Mike.
No, thank you for checking though. I wanted to ask if you could just say a little something about what a sangha relationship or what a Zen practitioner's relationship to their sangha or their teacher is not. What are some misconceptions that could potentially trip us up, or that just are just plain off base?
Yeah. So you have to be vigilant, because if a teacher is asking you to say or do or think things that are either all about them or misuses of Buddha, Dharma, or Sangha, you have to say no. So, for instance, if a teacher gets sexual with you, if a teacher goes on a power trip with you, if a Sangha member doesn't include you as if you were family, if they lie to you about ways that you transgress their boundaries or disrespect them, or don't help them meet their needs, if they keep that information from you and instead harbor ill will towards you, that's a shadow that happens in Sangha sometimes. If they're scared of you, or if you're scared of them, if they do things that you're grieving about and you don't give yourself enough time, space, and resources to heal. So there's so many ways in which Sangha can be misused. So one of the things that I've been playing with as a teacher, because teachers have enormous power in some ways, in other ways of course not, but I've been kind of thinking about, should I have a page, when I redesign my website, should I have a page that says what professional associations and commitments I have and who to call or write to if you need for me to be accountable. So I was thinking I might do that. But
You broke up a little there, Vicki. Could you restate?
Yeah. So I was thinking about having a phone list of people and organizations I'm accountable to, so that if you need to call somebody about me, you can. And I think it needs to be transparent like that. And in Sangha also, we don't want the situation. That's what I mean about the kitchen crew, where, someone was just kind of harmlessly chopping onions and somebody else would come up to them and say, "That's not how we hold a knife." And that person who was holding the knife would go, and it would actually become less safe, right?
Yeah.
Because they were being picked on. So they had to say something, but also as the person in charge of the kitchen practice, Tenzo is not a cook as the most important thing. They're a holder and kind of cultivator of kitchen practice, first and foremost. So respect towards people, respect towards food, respect towards the offering. So I had to keep an eye out for what disturbed the harmony and address it without judging. That was hard. That was my training. That's why Mel wanted me to do that. And it's also what I sensed about it that made me refuse vigorously many times before I finally gave in. So does that answer something? Thanks. Now it's 12 o'clock, and now I think, Mike, thanks for setting up the altar.
Before we say our closing chant, I just wanted to thank the Tenzos who gave up their practice today to make lunch and, not hear the Dharma talk. That's a sacrifice, but also to talk about the sangha and, how we've grown a garden. And at lunch today, we'll have melons and kale and tomatoes and orange juice from the garden.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah. So,
Wow.
A year ago, we didn't have that. So, good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Makes me want to fly really fast. Get some lunch with you.
Yeah, we have 6 quarts of orange juice for the backyard.